For decades, becoming a software engineer followed a predictable path. You learned the fundamentals. A company hired you into a junior role. Senior developers assigned you smaller tasks, reviewed your mistakes, and gradually trusted you with larger systems. But now, many of those smaller tasks can be handed to an AI coding agent. The company still needs software. It still needs experienced engineers. It may simply need fewer beginners. AI may not replace software developers, but it could remove the first rung of the ladder that creates them. Before we begin, this video is for educational and informational purposes only. It reflects current research and industry trends, not career or financial advice. AI is only one factor affecting technology employment, and outcomes will vary by role, company, and individual. With that said, AI is changing something deeper than how developers write code. It is changing how developers become experienced. Software development is not disappearing. The United States Bureau of Labor Statistics projects software developer employment will grow by approximately 16% between 2024 and 2034. That would create roughly 268,000 additional software developer jobs. Companies will need engineers to build AI systems, secure infrastructure, maintain applications, and integrate software into nearly every part of the economy, but the path into that growing profession is becoming narrower. SignalFire reports that new graduates now represent only 7% of big tech hires and less than 6% of startup hires. Indeed found that technology employers have increasingly requested candidates with more experience. LinkedIn found that fewer computer science graduates are beginning their careers in traditional software engineering roles. Software still needs to be built, but companies increasingly want people who already know how to build it. That creates a difficult question. If companies only want experienced engineers, where will the next generation of experienced engineers come from? To understand the problem, consider what junior developers traditionally did. They fixed smaller bugs. They built basic interfaces and internal tools. They wrote tests, documentation, and straightforward features. They handled repetitive maintenance while learning how a real production system worked. A senior developer could often complete those tasks faster, but immediate productivity was never the entire point. Junior developers learned why a technically correct solution could still fail in production. They discovered how one minor change could affect a completely different part of a system. They learned to interpret unclear requirements, communicate trade-offs, review other people's code, and recover when something broke. Those lessons could not be fully taught in a classroom. They came from completing real work, making mistakes, and receiving feedback from people with more experience. Junior work was not merely cheap labor, it was paid practice. And companies tolerated the short-term cost because that process eventually created capable senior engineers. AI coding tools are unusually effective at many of the tasks that once provided that practice. They can generate boilerplate, create tests, explain unfamiliar code, draft documentation, fix simple bugs, and build clearly defined features. Anthropic analyzed approximately 500,000 coding-related interactions across Claude and Claude Code. It classified 79% of Claude Code interactions as automation, meaning the AI was directly performing tasks instead of merely helping a person understand them. User interface and web application development were also among the most common uses. These tools are not flawless. They can misunderstand requirements, introduce security problems, invent non-existent functions, and produce code that appears correct until it encounters the real world. But that does not make them useless. It makes them especially valuable to someone capable of recognizing when they are wrong. An experienced engineer understands the surrounding system. They can define the task, evaluate the output, identify hidden risks, and accept responsibility for the result. A junior developer may still be learning how to do those things. AI therefore creates an uncomfortable imbalance. It often multiplies experienced judgment while competing with inexperienced execution. AI does not need to replace the senior engineer. It only needs to make hiring the junior engineer feel optional. Imagine a small company that previously needed one senior engineer and 3 junior developers. With AI coding agents, the senior engineer may be able to produce more code, review generated changes, and manage a wider range of tasks. Perhaps the company now hires only 1 junior developer. From the company's perspective, this can be rational. Hiring beginners requires recruiting, onboarding, mentorship, and patience. Their early mistakes can be expensive. Their productivity may take months to develop. An AI tool is available immediately. It does not need a salary, request a promotion, or leave after being trained. But when thousands of companies make that same rational decision, the entire career ladder begins to weaken. Stanford Digital Economy Lab researchers found substantial employment declines among early career workers in occupations highly exposed to AI, including software development. After controlling for changes within companies, they measured a 16% relative employment decline among young workers in the most exposed occupations. The researchers do not claim AI caused every decline, but their findings are consistent with a world where automation affects early career workers first. Companies want experienced engineers. At the same time, they are reducing the opportunities through which beginners become experienced. That is the experience paradox. It would be misleading to blame the entire junior hiring slowdown on AI. Technology hiring began weakening in 2022 before today's most capable coding agents became widely available. During the pandemic, technology companies hired aggressively as digital demand surged. When growth slowed and interest rates increased, investment became more expensive and many companies reduced hiring. LinkedIn's research found that entry-level software engineering hiring has broadly followed the larger software engineering market. That suggests macroeconomic conditions remain a major cause of the slowdown. AI productivity is also far from guaranteed. In one controlled GitHub study, developers using Copilot completed a specific coding task 55% faster. But Meteor found that experienced open-source developers using early 2025 AI tools took 19% longer to complete complex tasks inside repositories they already understood. The tools improved rapidly after that study, and Meteor believes newer systems probably provide greater benefits. But accurately measuring those benefits remains difficult. Developers themselves remain cautious. Stack Overflow's 2025 survey found that 80% of developers use AI tools, yet only 29% trust their accuracy. Nearly two-thirds reported spending more time fixing AI-generated solutions that were almost correct, but not quite. AI did not create every problem facing junior developers. It cannot independently replace experienced engineering judgment, but it changes how companies respond to a difficult hiring market. When budgets are tight, giving AI tools to proven engineers may appear safer than investing in beginners. AI may not have caused the latter to weaken. It could prevent companies from rebuilding it in its old form. Reducing junior hiring may improve productivity and lower costs today. Over time, it could create a different problem. Senior engineers do not appear fully formed. They become senior by spending years debugging failures, reviewing systems, communicating with stakeholders, and taking responsibility for increasingly consequential decisions. If fewer people receive those opportunities, experienced talent could become scarcer. Companies may eventually compete for a shrinking pool of engineers capable of supervising increasingly powerful AI systems. That supervision will matter. More generated code can mean more software to maintain, more dependencies to monitor, and more opportunities for subtle failures. AI can produce code quickly. It cannot eliminate accountability. When a payment system fails, customer data leaks, or a critical service stops working, a company cannot assign responsibility to an autocomplete model. It needs people who understand the system deeply enough to repair it. The strategy that saves money today could create the talent shortage companies face tomorrow. The junior developer role is unlikely to disappear completely, but its definition is changing. Being able to write basic code is becoming less valuable when AI can generate that code almost instantly. The future entry-level developer must prove something more difficult. They must demonstrate that they can use AI without becoming dependent on it. They must understand generated code well enough to test it, debug it, secure it, and explain why it works. They must be capable of owning a small outcome, not merely completing an isolated coding task. That changes what a strong portfolio looks like. A collection of polished applications is no longer enough when anyone can generate an impressive interface in an afternoon. Employers will increasingly care about the decisions behind the application. What problem does it solve? How was the system designed? What trade-offs were made? How was it tested? What failed during development? How was it deployed, monitored, and improved? The valuable skill is no longer simply producing code. It is exercising judgment around code. Aspiring developers may also need to find experience outside traditional junior roles through open source contributions, internships, apprenticeships, freelance work, and independently deployed products. The new first rung may be less structured and less forgiving, but it will reward people who can prove they are already climbing. AI coding tools make software cheaper and faster to produce. That could create more products, more companies, and ultimately more demand for engineers. But producing code was only one part of becoming an engineer. The repetitive assignments AI handles so easily were also where beginners learned how software behaves outside a tutorial. Companies now face a choice. They can treat AI as a reason to stop developing junior talent. Or they can redesign junior roles around validation, system ownership, and effective collaboration with AI. Schools and aspiring developers face the same challenge. Learning syntax is no longer enough. The goal must be learning how to think clearly when the machine can write the code. The future may still need millions of software developers. The unanswered question is how anyone becomes one. Subscribe for more practical AI strategy, and I will see you in the next one.